keep checking. What's going on, TentHut? I got caught off guard. So today is we got Will Romero today and myself, and we are waiting for one of our good friends. His name is Roberto Arnold. He is the commander for the post American Legion Post 30th in Pomona, and he's also obviously an Army veteran. So I want to share a couple of things which has happened last weekend. The reason why Jose is not here, he just got married, and we were there. It was an amazing event. Will was there. I mean, it was great. It was an awesome place. It was in the middle of nowhere, but yeah, and it was really cool. So we're super excited. That he got married, and now he's somewhere like in New Mexico. Is that what he said?
He say he's in New Mexico, so I actually have the video of his vows because that was like the best part of the whole wedding. You know that, right?
That was. We got to put him on blast. We got to figure out how we're gonna put this and show it to everyone because that was
Yeah,
funny. At
that
least
video was
at
hilarious.
least that small clip, right?
As soon
Yeah.
as he said, I just remembered my vows. I didn't write them down. I was like, all right, I need to record this. That's so good.
Seriously, he did tell me in the beginning. He was like, I forgot my vows. I was like, what? I thought he was
Yeah,
playing around, and that's not how he
yeah,
is. Like he plays around like he's really serious. No,
yeah.
he was not.
He was.
But it's so good though. I don't know.
He
He
did
winged
good.
it.
Yeah, it
He
was
winged it.
great. You
Yeah,
got a photo, right? You have a photo.
I do. I do. I'm gonna show the photo right now. Really quick. I'm gonna see. I'm gonna do the share thing again. Here we go. And share. Minimize this. All right. Hopefully you guys can see this. Uh, oh, it disappeared. What happened now? All right, I'm gonna do stop sharing real quick. All right.
You had it up.
Can you see it?
No, you got to share screen again.
Oh, okay. All right. Oh, no, no, no. Man, this thing. All right. Here we go now. And there you go.
There you
Let
go.
me know if you see it. Yeah. Um. So
Yeah.
for you guys, that's Ranger the dog. Jose's
Nobody
service.
else matters.
No one else matters.
Go
Yeah.
from left to right. Who's in that picture?
So from left to right is Tato. That's Jose's nephew. Daniel. He is the chairman for TentHut. He's a long friend. There we have Alma. She is Jose's sister. Jose, of course, and yourself and me.
There you go.
So yeah, so we didn't weren't able to catch everyone, all the TentHut crew, but yeah, well, we got some people here. So yeah, so
Yeah.
it was such a great event. All right, I'm gonna stop sharing this real quick. All right. Other than that, bro, we just been, you know, pushing on with TentHut. Wanted to for those guys that are watching this right now, please go ahead and subscribe to our channel. We're growing our channel. We're looking to get more subscribers. If you want to join us, if you want to shoot the shit with us, let me know. We'll just get you on. We'll get you on the show, and and maybe drink some whiskey as a virtual way, since this whole COVID thing going on right now. So, but yeah, anything you want to add to this, Will?
No, not much to add right now, but uh, things are moving along with the VA.
Okay.
If you haven't heard that, the undersecretary is reaching out to a lot more veterans. He's actually, since COVID started, before COVID, there was a survey done about veterans wanting to be reached out to, or webinars,
Okay.
and now that COVID has happened and veterans are forced to do telehealth or webinars,
Right.
it's being a lot more accepted. He's actually reached out to over 50,000 veterans this year since COVID started. So
Wow.
it's a big push. And the thing is that before he would travel to locations, right?
Hmm.
And it was costly because you have to pay for travel, then you have to set up the venue, and that stuff gets expensive when we do our functions,
Right.
and and the invite to veterans to be able to come to the location. But now with webinars, you're saving all that cost to the VA, right?
Mhm.
And actually reaching veterans to be able to let them know what's new, what's going on, and what's coming. A lot of changes with communication that are
So, yeah,
great.
right. This is the things that needs to be, at least advertised. Like what's going on, because not many. I didn't know about this unless you were like in, boots on ground.
50,000 veterans did.
But still, like, this
Yeah,
should be advertised, continuously.
yeah.
Get more veterans involved, and know what's the updates, you know.
So if you go to uh, va.gov and sign in, and then go into wow, I should have probably prepared if I would have thought about this, but go to va.gov and then go to receive notifications, and they'll send you either a text or email
Right.
letting you know what events are coming up uh,
Okay.
due in the future. Yeah. So
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Definitely. I do. Change the conversation. I do want to say, man. Last podcast we had was really good, man. That's some great information. I know you want to talk about education. I think we should continue that next
yeah,
next
yeah,
Thursday.
we should do it next Thursday.
Yeah,
Sounds good to me.
definitely. Hey, so I got a
Yeah.
question for you. So since we're still waiting for Robert,
Yeah.
um, I want to know, like, can veterans? I've been asked this question, and I just told them I have no idea. But can veterans actually request to get into, get acupuncture, or I know they can get chiropractic work, but what is the stipulations? Like what is the, I guess, how they justify so they can get it?
So justification, of course, is do you have a need for it, right? So acupuncture is a pain management tool, right?
Hmm.
And it just was brought into the VA approximately about let me see, 2016, I think was when I first started hearing more about acupuncture.
Okay.
Um, so it's a pain management tool. So if you have some pain, um, they can refer you to acupuncture. Um, for me, I tried it for a little while, but it seemed like they had to stick my whole body with all the injuries I have. Uh, but
Yeah.
it works to some degree. It creates pain in that location for your body to send that chi to that location,
Right.
that energy. So it does work. The big problem with requesting for acupuncture is that VA location, specifically for me, Long Beach VA, they do have one doctor that does acupuncture, and then they have a lot of resident doctors that are from UCI.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
two right now.
Wait. So
Uh,
there's doctors from UCI actually doing acupuncture.
yes, at Long Beach
Wow.
VA.
Wow.
The problem is that you have three doctors, well, two students and one attendee
Mhm.
for every veteran. So the best thing to do is you get seen by acupuncture at the VA for your initial eval, and then from there request to go to community care. Community care will only do 12 sessions, and then after that they can request 6 and then 8. All
Well,
right, so it's not indefinite.
so community care is a care program. Is that correct?
Community care is what used to be the Choice Act
Oh,
before
sure.
President Trump. So the Choice Act back before President Trump was um, that if you met a criteria, so part of the criteria is that there was no service within your local area, meaning 30 miles,
Hmm.
right?
Okay. Right.
So if there was no service for that, then you can request for community care, and then they would send you out to community care. They would see you, or there. But you have to think like if so. Let's say for instance acupuncture. If that's not available at the VA Long Beach, then you can be referred outside. So now the new community care that was enacted by President Trump
Hmm.
is that you have the choice. You actually have the choice. The problem that I find with community care, and this probably is a long topic too, the problem that I have with community care is that there's a stoppage, right? So if I was going to the VA, I can get in indefinite sessions, and I don't have to request more sessions. Whereas, like I said, 12, 6, 8 sessions. After 12 sessions, the doctor, the acupuncturist out in community care has to submit a request to the VA again to get approved. It usually does get approved, but the demands from the VA are a lot. They have to submit a lot of paperwork explaining why you still need it.
Right.
Then you would go 6 sessions. Then again, they have to submit another request that you still need more, and then 8 sessions, and then it'll go back to six, and then eight, and six, eight, six, eight, till whenever you don't need it anymore.
Right. Right.
Um, but the
Oh.
big problem that I have with it is that I have a plethora of different things going on, right? So I want my records to stay at the VA, and that becomes a problem when it's being transferred from an outside doctor to the VA, because
Yeah.
it's not uploaded through Vista like the rest of our records. When you go to the VA and you get seen, they enter it into the VA system,
The system.
right?
Yeah. That's true.
So it's not a transfer of records from another medical facility, right? Say that doctor is having problems with sending the stuff to the VA, and the VA is not paying. I mean, that doctor can kind of hold your records hostage there till he gets paid, he or she gets paid. So
Well, that
um,
sucks.
I don't imaging, same thing. So when you have imaging done, MRIs, X-rays, CT scans, all that stuff, lab work done at the VA, it automatically goes into the system and is readily available at that time. When
Yeah.
you get imaging done outside, I had an MRI done on one of my knees, and to try to expedite the process, it ended up taking longer because that imaging had to be delivered via CD ROM, right, to be able to upload into the system. And then when you upload into the system, you can't really see it as good as something that's being uploaded directly by the VA, if that makes
Right.
sense.
Yeah, it
So
does.
it's hit or miss. Like for me, chiropractic, yeah, I go outside because it's just easier and more convenient. It's closer to my either work facility or home, whichever
Yeah.
one I pick. The doctor has to be on top of renewing your request.
Hmm.
But that's just
That's
part of it.
yeah. That's a pain. Yeah, that's a pain. The, you think they will ever come out with a system where they can actually share records, streamline real time between an outside doctor and the VA?
It's very difficult because of HIPAA, the
Yeah.
rules that the VA has themselves. I'll tell you one other problem is that so I had an RFA done off with a civilian, and it took forever because that civilian wanted to do his own, or non VA doctor wanted to do his own evaluation. So when I went, I thought, okay, he already knows what is wrong with me because the VA would have sent my records, but that's not the case.
Right.
The doctor sees me. All right, so I'm going to request your images. So then they request images from the VA. So that takes about 2 weeks, right? He receives the images. He sees what's going on. All right, I am suggesting that you get an RFA. Okay, I thought we were here for this, but then he has to request the RFA from the VA Community Care Center, and that
Mm.
needs to be submitted to TBI or whoever spinal clinic, whoever sent you in the first place. Then they approve the RFA that they already sent you there for, and then they do the procedure. So if you're gonna be waiting 3 months for a procedure at the VA, just might as well just wait, because
Yeah.
if not, you're gonna be frustrated that all this paperwork and stuff that you gotta just wait, to get done, and it's probably gonna take 3 months anyway. So if some for some reason, like pain management clinic is one of the busiest clinics, I would say, in the VA. If you're uh, doing pain management clinic, then I would suggest maybe community care if they're like a 6 month wait or something like that.
Yeah.
But if you can wait, I suggest you just wait for the VA to be able to do those procedures. So
So
just
for paid
that's
paid management, you think they are they now prescribing cannabis, CBD, or stuff like that?
No, man. I have, I haven't. The VA is not big on drugs, and then the big thing is that cannabis is not federally sanctioned yet. You know,
Yeah,
it's legal in the states, in each state, but it's not legal federally. So once it becomes federally legal, then maybe they might consider it. But as
yeah,
of right now, no. Now the VA cannot stop you from using uh, cannabis,
yeah,
but you have to go through. You have to report it either way because you're taking these other medication and it might have
yeah.
a reaction to it. So
All right, cool. All
um,
right,
yeah,
we
keep
got
that in mind.
yeah. All right, we got Robert in the house now.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for
What's
having me here, Pedro.
all right? Hold on, let me
Guys.
do cool. You kind of sound a little bit distant, brother. Just
Okay, can you hear me now?
just a little, still a little off.
Hang on.
Might check 1-1. Yeah. All right. So anyways, everyone. So just again, just a quick reintroduction again. We have Robert Arnold. He is the commander for the American Legion Post 30, Pomona. He's been doing amazing things. I know Robert for a very long time, and I've seen the American Legion change, man. Like you've been doing some amazing work, brother. Like seriously, like
Thank you so much, brother. We appreciate you.
yeah, man. It's been. I know you've been. Even got Home Depot up in the house and trying to fix up a lot of things in American Legion because I believe that is I forgot what is that word? Because it's an old building. I mean, but it's not because of an old building. It's a
It's a
Historic.
historical bill. It's
historic,
part of the
historical,
historical society. Yes.
right?
So
Oh, wow.
we land in a historical land site. Our building right now currently is not a historical building. Thank God, because if it was, we'd be so out of regulation. But we're working towards it.
Yeah.
But we do fall within that parameter of being part of the historical society.
Oh, that's cool, man. So go ahead and tell the audience. Well, let me say this. I know you're an Army veteran. You're an entrepreneur. That's what you do. That's your day job, so to speak, right? And
Yes.
and then you actually do this. As a commander of the American Legion. I know you've been doing a lot of things for the city itself as well, and also helping veterans. The number one thing. And I know, like I said again, you've been doing amazing things. So I'm gonna pass the floor to you, and let the world know what you do.
Okay. So, thank you everyone for being here tonight. My name is Roberto Arnold. I am the commander of the American Legion Post 30 Pomona. And some of the stuff that Pedro's talking about is we've been working heavily on building and bringing veteran awareness to our city, to our culture. A lot of the Hispanic culture thinks that once we sign up for the military, we're signing up for a death trap. When in fact, you have Will, you have Pedro, you have myself. We come out and we are able to socialize and we're able to make it outside of the military. And it's all about us and our leadership. I think that we all had great leadership within the organization of the Army that helped us become the persons that we are today. So I want to extend a shout out to, a lot of the great leaders we have. I know that Guido is out there and, he was a great part of my upbringing. A lot of the stuff that he taught me was great. Palacios, Reynoso. I had so many great leaders that shaped me to be the person that I am today. So I want to thank them from the bottom of my heart. To be honest, because that's where our roots came from, and they had upbringing, of course, from the Vietnam era, from the Desert Storm era, and allowed us to see what we are today. So the American Legion is set up as an organization for veterans, but anybody that knows anything about American Legions or VFWs knows that this is a place that they can come and hang out with their friends. So what I'm doing is I'm taking a retrospect to it. I'm going back to the books, looking out to see what we represent, what we do, and what we stand for. So as far as the city, we've been doing a lot of community engagement. We do have a fluent and open dialogue with the city, which I highly recommend to anybody that's within that deals with nonprofit organizations to have that openness with them. And with that, I also mean that we have to be transparent. Our numbers are out there. Our 990s are public, and our leadership is more than happy to walk in with as far as how the process of being a veteran within an organization is supposed to be like. So you're right. We were able to get Home Depot in here. Thanks to our prior leadership, Howard Hernandez, the prior commander, had a lot of pull of that, and he left that in the reins for me to take over. So it just takes a village. When it comes down to it, guys, it really takes a huge amount of village to make this happen, and that village is us. Personnel like Will, personnel like Pedro, like Howard, and other individuals that really see the value in our veteran system. Because at the end of the day, we know that a lot of veteran organizations out there are just out there for themselves, and we know who they are. We can call them out, but at the end of the day, that money keeps going to them. We keep building their purse. And we foresee organizations like ours, because when you ask anybody what an American Legion is they see it as a canteen or a bar or a hangout spot.
Yeah,
so
pretty much, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So what I did is I pulled out the books. I went back, and the American Legion, the national level, they have a basic training, which I thought it was like ridiculous, right? I'm like, I've been through so many basic trainings. This is stupid. But let me go ahead and take it back, and I'll retract those words, because it taught me about our four pillars. It showed me the 12 different committees that we're supposed to have and how to make them work towards our community engagement. Because yes, we are a veteran organization, but at the end of the day, we're as proactive as our community is with us. So if we're not moving with our community, we're moving against them. And when you're 70% Hispanic Latino that don't understand what the parameters are of what being a veteran really is, it can work against you. So that's what I'm vocalizing. That's what I advocate for. It's for our community to understand who we are and what we are, because at the end of the day, they don't really know what I'm myself, I'm a Ranger. So when people see that, they're like, oh, a Power Ranger. Sure, why not?
I'm Air Force, and I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm gonna have forever now, especially with Jose.
Yes. So they're like, oh, a Park Ranger, a Power Ranger. Well, what the hell is a Ranger? And Jose can back me up here if he was here today. Rangers, we're not what Hollywood sets us up to be. We're not just badasses. Our job is to go integrate ourselves within communities, within cities, within organizations, and find out and train and build and empower the people that are there. That's what we're there for. Part of our Ranger training is, and this is where a RIP comes into place, where we go through a training where we have to peer ourselves out. Those that cannot work within the village, they get asked out. They're out. They're no longer part of the organization. And that's what allowed us to be really successful today. And it pushes us to even work within the business community, because at the end of the day, if we're not giving, if we're not forward, and we're not transparent with what our intentions are, a lot of people can't trust us. And that's where a lot of veterans do the whole flag waving. And at the end of the day, and Pedro, you and I, we're all about this. It's not about handouts, it's about handshakes. And it's something that I've learned with other great organizations. I know that Ren Ventura, and there's a lot of other veteran associations out there that are all about handshakes, not handouts, because I don't want a handout. I don't need pity. Believe me, Pedro, Will, we work our asses off every day to make sure that we stand for. Every day we hustle, every day we grind, and we stand for what we believe. And that's what our organization is pushing for, our younger veterans to come into play. I understand it's hard. I understand that we're hungry. I understand that we can't pay our bills. But guess what? When we bind together, the amount of work and the amount of income that we can bring in together, it's ridiculous. And within our organization, we're probably about 30% of the way where I want us to be. And it's a lot of hard work, because as you guys understand, there's organizations that are set on their ways, and once they're set on their ways, it's really hard to break them away from it until they see the light. And once they see the light, little by little, they start breaking away, and they says, okay, you know what, let's try your way. And it's it's a culture shock because our older generation, especially that deal with BFWs and American Legions, are our Vietnam, Korean that didn't have the welcoming we had, right? So I know when I joined back in 2004, right on the kickoff of the war. I was all pumped up. I says, yes, let's kick down doors. Let's go do some damage. But I didn't really understand what that was going to do for me long term. And I know that you guys and myself, we know what we're facing today. There are some demons that we face with every night, and we have to deal with on a daily basis. And it's hard because there's not enough of us out there that are open enough to talk about it. Yeah. And it really hurts because we know that other brethrens are suffering it, but they just can't admit it. And it's just a process, and we have to kind of wait it out and hold on to that brotherhood that says, okay, you know what? Yeah, you're right. There's something wrong with me. I'll admit it. Let's push forward. And that's where I'm at right now with our generation of veterans. There's a lot of us that are still in denial. We're still going through that phase that there's nothing wrong with me. I didn't get hurt. You know, I got shrapnel in my arm from a couple of IEDs. We've been blown up, we've been shot at, we've been stabbed. But even at that, that's not enough, because we're here. And a lot of us suffer from survivor's guilt. And we tend to refer to it should have been me and all this petty shit. But we turn it around and we say, you know what, at the end of the day, we're here for them. We honor them. Every single one of us takes a symbolism to what losing a brother is, right? So
carry the legend, man.
Yeah,
carry that legend.
Back in 2004, I said to myself, the Punisher was like my thing. I ended up falling in love with that character. That was my thing. And next thing you know, Marines took on it. Next thing you know, Navy took on it. Navy SEALs. The next thing you know, Rangers took on it. So it became an icon. And to me, the Punisher has been
the Air Force, man.
Yeah, they even got him in the Air Force. Exactly. I don't know how that ended up there, but
it's there.
Yeah, at least it's not Coast Guard.
Probably the PJs. It was probably the PJs. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
But we ended up building on that character, and it's across the bear, right? We all utilize symbolism. We all utilize some sort of way to cope with it. So what I ended up doing is that I ended up getting a tattoo of the Punisher, typical veteran, of course. Yeah, I got it in my back, and it's literally right next to my heart.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, you want him to take his shirt off? What?
I was gonna say maybe. Where is it? Where?
No, we're not taking my suit off today. No, guys, not today. But the only twist I did to it was that when my tattoo artist, we sat down and I asked him, hey, do me a favor. I want you to honor them. And every crack in my skull represents every soldier that I lost, every team member, every team leader, every squad leader, every platoon leader, every husband, every brother, every son, every mother, daughter, sister. Because we were with co-ops, so we did have females that went out with us, especially medics. So at the end of the day, to this day, I've lost 23 fellow service members from different branches, not just Army. And, at the end of the day, everybody can turn and say, you know what, it should have been me. It shouldn't have been them. But when it's not your time, it's not your time. So what do? We shift, we redirect, and we utilize that as a fire. To this day, I still have those families reaching out to me, asking me, how are you honoring the name of my kid? How are you honoring my husband, my brother, my sister? And there's nothing more shameful than saying, you know what, I'm not doing shit. I'm unemployed, I'm not doing anything, or I'm going to school. And that's why we shifted into this whole giving back to the community and really getting engaged with our veterans and getting them to see and having them acknowledge that the pain is there, but they're not alone.
Right.
And we've been through so many PTSD coping skills. We've tried all the medicine, which we know that doesn't work. It just pisses us off. It makes our stomach, turn inside out. But we have to check those boxes, because that's part of the VA system. At the end of the day, it's people like you guys that I can lean on and say, you know what, I'm not feeling good today. I didn't feel I was productive. I don't know what the hell I'm gonna do. and we all have our partners, and it goes back to relationship, right? Um, Leaning on our loved ones, making sure that they understand what we're going through, and understanding that we're not okay just because we're full, we have all of our limbs, and we seem like we're okay. We're not.
Right.
And I think that's our biggest push, especially now within our generation, is that a lot of our guys are faking until they make it, and they break, and they become part of the statistic.
Yeah.
And then that's what I'm like crying out against whenever I'm at Capitol Hill. I'm sitting and advocating for our veterans. I'm letting them know, like, we're not silent, we're dormant. But one of these days we're going to wake up, and when we do wake up, it's going to be a sleeping giant, because there are so many of us that are out there that are looking for a purpose, that are looking for a way to give back, but we just don't find it. And you don't find it till you're ready.
Mm.
There's no right cocktail for this. Like, I can tell you guys, when I came home, I just cared about me. I cared about my kids, making sure that my wife at the time, my girlfriend at the time, were taken care of, and nothing else mattered. But then
Oh,
it came to,
go ahead. I was gonna say your wife and your girlfriend.
yeah, you go through wife, and then you get
I was like,
divorced,
hold on,
right?
like, wait.
Hey,
Oh,
hold
Damn,
on. We're
dude.
talking
like,
like
damn.
non-disclosure, right? Like, hey, I signed the NDA when I signed up with you
You know,
guys.
this is live, right? This is live. Like,
No, I'm
anybody
good.
can
I'm good.
see it.
And I welcome that, because
Yeah.
veterans have the highest rates of divorce, just like first responders, cops, fire departments. We have the highest rates of divorce. Why? Because we devote our lives to the selfless service, which is
Mm.
helping, which is putting our mission first, which is making sure that we do our job. And at the end of the day, if our better half can't see that, then okay, bye. Because at our current state of mind, we just care about what's there in front of us. When we're overseas, I turn off my cell phone. I don't have social media. I don't care about what's going on back home. I disconnect completely, because my state of mind has to be with my guys. Because if they don't come home, that's another crack I have to act to my skull, and I don't want that. After the 23 service members that I lost, I just couldn't bear it anymore.
Mm.
And it just became a habit of just shutting off the outside world and focusing on my mission on hand. And that's what allowed us to be really successful. I just retired last year. November, actually May. I was due in November, but they said, you know what, you're done. I wasn't showing up to drill, and I said, I'm done. Like, I'm completely done. I have so many tours. I've done my time, and I put in for my hardship. And I says, not that many people are going to hire veterans or National Guardsmen that are working X amount of hours, doing MUTA 6, MUTA 7s, MUTA 9s, in a regular job, unless you're AGR. And I'm talking a lot of different acronyms here, but like active duty guard, I'm making sure that you have that BAH, which is your basic housing allowance, making sure that you're taken care of. And when you're doing a full-time job and you have to take off, like, your employer is looking at you like, dude, what the hell are you doing? Like, you're doing a great job here, but you're not going to manage to stay long enough with us if you continue this pattern. Because as a business owner right now, I can tell you, I myself cannot put up with somebody that's only working 21 days out of the month, because I need him here my full 30 days. Otherwise, they're missing out on my sales, my product, my way of building my company.
Right.
So there's different ways to look at stuff. And as a veteran that has been through the ringer, that's the end of, like, at the end of the day, like, Pedro, that's how you know me as an entrepreneur, because I couldn't make it as an employee. I tried. I stayed in my lane, and my higher ups, my hierarchy saw me as a threat, because when you put me to do a report, guess what? I'm gonna put in what color your freaking toenails were, because that's what we're taught to do. We observe, we watch, we
Attention to
look,
detail.
we look at the mannerism, attention to detail,
Right.
everything becomes part of us. And when we come out, and especially being part of an organization, it's like we give ourselves a lot. And I know, Pedro, you can relate to this. When you develop this TentHut, you knew that part of your heart is embedded into this. And we talked about this yesterday, having the founder syndrome, or having that like, mind, that doesn't lay on us. Because at the end of the day, we want this legacy to grow. And if it outgrows us, then by all means, please bring somebody in here that can do the job that we cannot, because our capacities are not there. And that's what great leadership is. And I got to commend you for that, because I know that you have gone through different stages of life and different growth spurs, and you continue to grow, and when we look at mentors and stuff like that, it's not sometimes not it's not even about talking to you, it's just seeing you. Because to me, at the end of the day, this right here is just talk.
Yeah.
Actions are more than anything. And I've seen the way you've grown. I've seen the way you and Jose have like literally become the men that you guys are today, and I commend you guys for that.
Yeah. I appreciate it, man. No, thank you. And you touch a lot of things definitely when it comes to being a veteran, being in a service, coming out of the military. And one of the things that we talked about in TentHut was we coined the veteran drifter. You
Mhm.
start drifting away from, because you're used to a certain culture, you're used to a certain thing, right? So like as a veteran, as a military service member, you have a mission, and especially if you're an NCO. I cannot speak for the officers, but I mean, we definitely can bring someone in later on about it. But as an NCO, you always put in your soldiers first, right? Or your airmen first, right? You put them first and you put yourself last. And then now that you're out of the military, you don't have someone to take care of. Let's say for a family, right? But let's say if your family was with you in the military, and then you get out of the military, you still have the expectation that your family is going to take care of themselves, because all you did was take care of someone else that is not your family, so to speak, right? Like you're not married to them. Now that you're out of the military, you don't have a new mission. Then what? You know, now what you're going to do? And then that's where the veteran starts drifting and say, "Oh, I don't have another mission." And some people like
Yeah.
me, like I shifted my mission to my family. I say I got to take care of my kids. I could take my wife. I mean, even though my wife was taking care of herself because she's a vet and she was doing her own thing, but that mentality of me taking care of someone, we put in someone else's first. And this is the problem that I've been seeing a lot with many veterans, that they start drifting, and they get to the point where they just become chronic homeless. And now
Mm.
once they get there, that's the problem.
It's over.
It's
It's
over,
over at
right?
that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know, Will, you can speak more about the whole chronic situation, because I know you've been boots on ground in that stuff. You
Yeah.
know,
It's just it's a psyche thing, individual gets to a certain point first. We, like I said in our last podcast, you got to catch them before they become homeless, because when they're asking for the help and they're at risk of being homeless, that's when that's when you're going to be able to capture them and try to help them out. Once they become homeless, it's just almost a sense of relief, because now it's just you have the
Well,
ultimate freedom.
yeah,
It's pretty hard to come back out of that to a job, to owning property again, or renting property, having a car, having this. Now you're tacking on responsibilities that they've lost and kind of have adapted to. So it becomes very difficult to get them out of chronic homelessness. It's
yeah,
and defined by you know by the rule of chronic home. What is a chronic homeless individual? Is a person that's been either homeless for a period of a year, and then relapses, gets out of homeless and then relapses for the past 5 years, or somebody that's been homeless for a period of 3 years. So you don't want them to be in that stage. Once they get to that stage, it's just it's bad. It's not easy to get them out. It's almost impossible. So
yeah. Yeah, no, it's true. And the other thing that you touched too is about, like, when in the military, you experience a lot of traumas, lost a lot of folk, a lot of, brothers and sisters, and coming out of the military, like, the, what is that word? I forgot. It'll come back to me. But anyways, just the resiliency, right? Like,
yeah,
continue moving forward,
yeah,
because I know a lot of folks get to that point where they feel guilty, or they just feel like they could have done something to keep them alive, or whatever it is, right? And but having that resiliency, and the way I looked at it, one mentor told me, like, you just have to really look at the opportunity you have now, because whatever you do now, you can actually give back in for those that couldn't make it. You can give
yeah,
back somehow. It'll help others that are struggling, because maybe they lost a limb, they lost something, in the military. And and I really, and I've read some books about individuals that are like lost their limbs, lost their legs. They were born with deformity, and they push forward no matter what, and they don't let that they don't let that stop them. And I guess it's a mind shift, because I was gonna say one more thing. I was gonna say
You
is that,
remember Eric, right? Eric Castro.
yeah, Eric Castro, he's a great
He's
example.
missing the whole leg. I mean, from the hip, man. And that guy owns his own company and just running it, man. He's
Yeah,
MBA graduate. Has been hitting it hard, and he lost his leg from a rocket attack, and keep pushing forward. And I just think it takes a mentality, and also like you were talking about, Robert. The culture. That's one that we have to struggle as Hispanics, and also, the mentorship that we have while growing through the military. So I think it's almost like something that doesn't apply when you're a veteran. It almost applies more when you're in service, So this is more, I'm targeting right now active duty. To get on the get talk to your subordinates and make sure that they're doing all right, that they get the help that they need, so they're not struggling with the VA, so they know where to go when they get out, so they are not frustrated fighting the VA to get the services that they need. Well, you know what crazy thing that I remember, and Robert just hitting it like, I used to own a 64 and a half Mustang. And this story is based on culture. All right. And I just want to elaborate how different the Hispanic culture is, right? I used to have a 64 and a half Mustang, super beautiful car, souped up, put a 68 motor in it, V8, Holly carb, just loud, beautiful car, right? So I joined the Air Force right after September 11th, so 2002. In May 2000, I had to be in the delay program. I almost got pulled out sooner, but I ended up leaving in May, and I didn't come back from training till December. So May to December. When I came back, my car was gone, and I said, "Hey, Dad, where's my car?" He said, "Oh, I just thought you weren't never coming back from the war." What do you mean? Like,
Shh.
yeah, I thought you were gonna die. Like, I mean, this is the mentality of Hispanics. That we're not gonna come back. We're going to war, and we're not coming back. Either not
Yeah,
coming back. Either uh, we're coming back in a body bag, or we're coming back with lost limbs, or just not even there.
yeah,
But that's the Hispanic culture that is there, and it's not only Hispanics; it's a lot of minorities that believe things like that. It's not. I'm not gonna just dig down on Hispanics, but in the communities that you were talking about, Robert, when you start looking at the culture of the locality, right? So Pomona is a heavily Hispanic community, right? The demographics there is heavily Hispanic,
right.
and they don't understand the importance of what those nonprofits are doing out there that are helping out veterans, right? Hispanic veterans, and also the veterans don't understand the importance of the posts like the VFW or American Legion. They completely disregard it as that's just a bar, or that's just a place where the veterans hang out. Even for veterans, I know when I was part of All American VA or the VFW out in San Antonio, they were always looking for new veterans that are just coming out of service, that are Iraqi veterans or Afghanistan veterans, or both, that don't want to join because they don't see the purpose, they don't see the need. I definitely picked up a couple mentors while I was out there, in at the VFW, and they helped me out in many ways to navigate the civilian side. You got to remember, they were mentored by some World War II veterans, and then the Vietnam veterans, mentored the Desert Storm veterans, and then it they kind of fell apart, where we have this culture that we're not seeking help. We still have that macho syndrome that I always talk about.
But it's
We
that,
don't help that. It's
yeah,
so
it's that
it's very
saying,
difficult.
yeah, it's that saying, like, you'll be fine. Just suck it up and drink
Suck it
some
up.
water. Suck it up and
Yeah.
drink water, or take a 800 milligram ibuprofen. So That's
Yeah.
just how it is, right? But that, and it makes, I think that as far as awareness that you're trying to do with Pomona and the post, like I mentioned a long time ago, I said that there's a gap between LA and you want to say Inland Empire. There's a huge gap, and there's a lot of veterans, and the majority of the veterans within Pomona going east, there's a lot of Hispanics, right? Latinos, blacks, different minorities, and the thing is that no one is really coming together. And what I've really loved what you have done so far is that you built the Legion and has started building that awareness for our community. And now I'm seeing a lot of I'm seeing a lot of great things. So I commend you for that, man. I give you a lot of credit. What you're doing. You know. Hey, Robert, I can't hear you, brother. You're on mute. There you go.
Good to
Yeah.
go? Okay. So it does take a lot of resiliency, and it does take a lot of community. We've built a lot of partnerships, because everybody that's in a nonprofit and everybody who's a business owner, anybody who owns anything tries to make everything about them, me,
Mm.
Yep.
right? So that's the founder syndrome. That's the whole, like, it's not about me, it's about them, it's about our veterans, it's about our poor community that can't afford a meal, that can't afford a shelter over their head because of, let's be realistic. When I joined the military, minimum wage was probably about $7-8 an hour. Right now minimum wage is at $15 an hour. I'm just
Mm.
thinking to myself, like, at $15 an hour, man, I'll make a killing. But then you're looking at the cost of living and you're like, wait, it's the same thing. I can't
Yeah.
afford anything.
Yeah.
You still can't afford it.
You still can't afford
Yeah.
nothing.
No,
You
you
know,
still
so
can't afford it.
it takes us listening to our mentors, and not only our mentors but the people that have been there, because a lot of the time, data acquisition is really important to me, understanding where people have been, what they've done, the history behind what the city stands for, and understanding, because it's so easy to point fingers and blame everybody for saying, why isn't there any veteran awareness here? Why don't we have a memorial in Civic Center? Why don't we have banners through our city for our veterans? It's so easy to say that, but it's a lot harder to say, how can we make that happen? How do we build that bridge? And I really have to thank our current leadership in our city that is really moving forward to that. Since Sandoval has done a great job, our current mayor, all of our council members have been really responsive. Our assembly member, our Senate, our Congress, they see the struggle. But at the end of the day, it just doesn't take for me to say, hey, we need this. We really have to band together and say, this is how we're going to do it. This is the cost. How do we make it happen? What fundraisers do we have to do? How much money do we have to input into it? And beyond that, it's at the end of the day, how is this going to benefit the community? How are our veterans going to impact not only our high school students, but our college students and our families? Because
Right.
at the end of the day, guys, we're all in this together. We are.
Right.
The commingling of veteran community and business and politics, all of that comes into place. And I know I have great leadership that has allowed me to be here. I have Stanwitz, who stands with Concerned Veterans of America, who's an organization that's always advocating for veterans. I know that they pushed a lot of bills that allowed us to date to get benefits and get services at our local hospitals, at our local clinics that wasn't allowed before.
Mhm.
And I had, like Victor Sierra, he's been a great mentor. I've had so many different leaders that have shown me, like, it's not always your way. You have to see the paved route, and you have to think outside the box. Look at the paved route that they have painted for you and see the big picture, which is it's called a master plan, right? The big army has it. The big Marines, the Air Force, they all have the end of the day. Air Force, we're talking about now, we have US Space Force. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Who would have thought that? And
Yeah.
they give credit to our current president, but if you think about it, there was a department of there was other departments already been developed for that. But obviously, when I got here, it was a pivotal point for this American Legion to take the step and says, you know what, let's focus on our 4 pillars. Let's focus on our different committees that have been working hard to develop. And it allows us to really push forward, and it gives us leeway to say, you know what, the day of tomorrow, once we leave the place, and I know Pedro and I, we have this, whatever place we go to, we're going to leave it better than when we got there.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to do. At the end of the day, once I leave this post and I retire from being a commander here, the next commander, I want him to take it to the next level. Not because I couldn't, it's because my capacity did not allow me. Right now, I have to be really stringent. I have to be all by the books. I have to be going after grants. I have to follow the guidelines of what the American Legion back in 1919 says. This is what we're made for. And
Mhm.
hopefully this is what's going to model this organization to grow to.
Right.
This model is not for everybody. Not every city is going to adapt to it because it's not needed. When the right time comes, we're going to adapt to it. But if it's not needed, we're not going to do it. And it's just like the Army APFT now. We have some different ways that we're being graded by because that's what's needed, right?
Mhm.
We've seen it in combat. We've seen it in trial and error. And the same thing with the Air Force. You guys now don't get ACs. You guys get 2 ACs, which is okay. We don't mind. We get no ACs, but we're okay.
We get filet mignon
Exactly.
on Wednesdays and
They
shrimp
want big
and
dogs.
lobster.
On Thursdays or
Yeah.
Tuesdays, depending on what fob you're at. Believe me,
Yeah.
I know. I
Yeah.
used to camp out with you guys.
Yeah. We
You,
get the good stuff.
one thing I want to add, and I think is for like anyone who's watching this today or in the next, few days, years, whatever. So the approach, right? And I talk about it in the nonprofit world. People get into this nonprofit. I want to start a nonprofit. I want to help out, but you got to treat it as a business, right? And the way you have done it with the American Legion, that you treat it as a business. Because here's the thing that people don't know, is that when you actually when you actually trying to give back to the community, you really need to look at the data, right? You have to understand what is a need for the community, not a want or what I think I want that people might want, right? It's more of a what is the thing, the information that it's out there that it's veterans are saying this is what I need, and because you have created that mentality, I know Will, yourself, we always talked about it. The systems and process. You got to follow systems and process, and in order to improve the process, you got to have the information. What
You
is the
do.
data that's giving me right now? Because and here's the thing that I brought it up a long time ago to other nonprofits. You got to stop saying this is what we need to do for veterans. Find out first what veterans do a market analysis. Because I said,
Mhm.
you don't understand that. You are the founder of a company. You need to understand these things. I don't care if it's a nonprofit. Even if you
Yeah.
decide to give, collect cans and give it to veterans. I mean, you are helping, but it's not enough, right? You want to make a change because I want to make a change in the community, right? And this is how we do it. And it's finding out the information. What does veterans need? And it start adjusting from there. And then exactly is a great example what you've done so far. What we're doing with TentHut, is becoming that voice and allowing other nonprofits that are actually doing amazing work for veterans, so you guys can be seen. Because the ones that don't get seen are the ones I could tell you they're the ones that actually be doing an amazing work for vets. I know
Yeah.
Will, you can say something.
No, it's back to business. When we talk about business, it's I always say this: would you rather give 100 sandwiches out? If I
Mm,
had $100, would you rather give 100 sandwiches out that's gonna feed 100 people for you know lunch, or would you rather pull one person out and help them out fully? And that's when it comes with money, right? I mean, because things aren't free, nothing's cheap.
Mhm.
yeah,
Everything's expensive, especially in California
yeah,
and areas like New York, which is the most heavily dense population of individuals that actually need help.
Yeah.
Uh, and it's not cheap. So when we gotta focus with nonprofits, we have to focus on the task at hand. What do veterans need to get out of whatever bad situation they're in, right?
Mhm.
And focus on that, not focus, somebody threw out, well, why don't you help, these veterans? Why don't you? Well, I can't. We can't. We have to find out the network of who can help that
mhm,
veteran
Mhm.
in that situation because they specialize in that. And guess what? When it comes to a grant, grants are very specific. We
Yes,
can't
they
just
are.
go. People don't understand. Oh, well, you got this grant. That's great, but what does that grant cover? Because if
Yeah.
I use it improperly, I'm gonna owe that grant right back to
Hmm.
whoever gave it to me. The whole
Yes,
thing,
you are.
Whole thing.
not a
Yeah.
little bit of it. The whole thing, and that's what people don't understand. And then they say, well, why do you got to do charity events? Charity events are for private money for us to be able to help out a veteran in
Mhm.
specific niche situations. But when it comes to
Exactly.
grants, we're stuck. We're stuck, and we have to use that money exactly how it is. Los Angeles City has $4 billion, right? Sitting there. Nobody wants to touch it because it's so difficult to be able to manage that grant. You pull money from LA City and it's got so many stipulations that
Hmm.
nobody wants to touch it. No developer in their right mind wants to touch that $4 billion that are allocated specifically for veterans.
4 billion. Yep, that is true.
Four
And will,
billion dollars sitting there.
and will,
Nobody wants to touch it.
and we go back to business, right? And this is where I take off my commander's hat and I go back to my business hat. All right. Now this is where our job, because we're boots on ground and we see what's going on and we know that it's really hard to follow those parameters. So this
Yeah.
is where we have to go and sit and advocate and say, you know what, the parameters you're setting are ridiculous.
Yeah.
For a veteran to be homeless for a year, it's freaking ridiculous. Why should they be why should they be dislocated for a whole year before they qualify, or 36
Or
months and
HUD
say
bash.
they're
Yeah.
going to qualify for this? No, I'm sorry, but that does not make sense. If the individual has the will and the want to make something better of himself, why not give that individual the opportunity? And this is where part of my advocacy comes into place really strongly, where I want them to see that there are veterans out there that are struggling, that need that extra push, that need that extra hand, that are in the verge of being homeless. But
Right.
guess what? Congress and all of those grants and all of that funding can allow them to not go through that.
Yeah.
They can help them
All the
not be
red
part of
tape.
that statistic.
All
Exactly.
that red tape. All the red tape.
Exactly. So we
Yeah.
have to go in there and we have to advocate in a sense of manner that it's not in it for us. We're not in it for the money, because at the end of the day, guys, money does not make us fun. It does not make us happy. That car that you had back in the day, guess what? You're going to own about 3 of them by the time you're done with your business, and you're still not going to be happy.
No.
Yeah.
Pedro, everything that you're developing right now, money's not going to make you happy. The people are, the veterans, their families, the effect that they're going to create. That to me is the greatest gift that I can have. I want to empower those veterans to have that, to leave that legacy behind, where it's like, I don't care for my name.
Mm.
Our name, Romero, De Leon, Arnold, at the end of the day, we're just names. But
Yeah.
it's the people that we're able to build. That's what I want it to echo when we leave, when we pass. Like, you know what? I had this great mentor, De Leon. He freaking showed me how to do, how to build, how to be the right veteran. Romero showed me that no matter what happens, my complacency has to be in place for me to remove it and become empowered, so that I'm able to push through and become something more, you
Mhm.
know? And it's hard for us to push our vets, our generation, because they're so stuck on being, I'm trying to be a family man, but I have this problem that it's like it's
Yeah.
stagnant and it's not letting me move forward. Yes, I'm bringing in the money, but I'm not happy. I feel empty. We have to have a sense of purpose. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Every single one of us in this room right now, we have a sense of purpose, and we're selfish. I
Mhm.
don't care what you guys say. We're fucking selfish, because we do want, we do want everybody to be happy. And that's
Yeah.
what our sense of purpose is. Because to me, at the end of the day, hey, Leon, if we're able to build a business together and we're able to help the many businesses that we talked about yesterday, then
Mhm.
let's do it, because that's going to help the greater good. Romero, down the line, if you and I can partner up in any way, shape, or form, that's going to help the greater good. By all means, let's make it happen, because we're here for a very short period of time. We've already
Yeah.
surpassed our time. We've deployed. We've already been there, done that. My
We're
time
on
has
borrowed
already,
time.
exactly. We're on borrowed time, so we're trying to make the best of it. Where
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie to you, a lot of people here in the city think that I'm running for something. I'm not. I don't care for a political seat. I don't care for a title. What I
Yeah.
care about is our community. And that's why we care so much for our veterans. And that's why I'm building so hard on the Legion and our business. So thank you guys so much for having me tonight. I appreciate you guys from the bottom of my heart. I really thank you for taking the time to sit down with me and discuss this.
No, this is great stuff, man, and I
Um,
appreciate it. I know you today. You were busy. You were in Chino Hills. Is that correct?
Yeah, Chino, we had a memorial.
Yeah.
In Ontario, we had another memorial for another service member. We did a burial service in this morning with Honor Guard.
Yeah.
Our post is really active. Wherever we can make an impact, we're there.
That's awesome, man. No, so I appreciate it, and thank you so much. And for those guys that are watching, our show, just remember, go ahead and subscribe to our channel, YouTube. I already posted the link there. And, and again, Robert, thank you so much, man, for what you've been doing, and thank you for joining us. It was a great discussion. All right, guys, until next time. Remember, Thursday, 7 p.m. Pacific time. All right, guys, take care.
Take care, guys.